So in today's video, I want to talk about something that might completely change the way we see Dottore, and maybe even hint at how he could become playable in Genshin Impact. Some really interesting lore has surfaced from the leaker JPGtEbS over on Tieba, and it dives deep into one of the discarded storylines that HoYoverse apparently worked on for him. And yeah, even though this specific version might not make it into the game, the implications are way too good to ignore. This video might include early story details and lore speculation about Dottore based on leaks. It's not confirmed, and likely won't appear in-game exactly like this. But if you're sensitive to possible spoilers, even very early ones, just keep that in mind before watching. Now first, let's lay the groundwork. According to this script draft, Dottore sees fate as a kind of prison. He believes that everything in Tevat is shackled by a system of predetermined destiny, and he wants to break those chains. But he doesn't plan to do it alone. Apparently, he intends to use the power of Columbina to help destroy what he calls the Inye, and completely rewrite the structure of fate itself. If that phrase sounds familiar, you're not wrong. It echoes the same theme that's popped up in multiple Harbinger-related stories, questioning the gods, challenging Celestia, and trying to reshape the system from within. To resist his so-called destiny, Dottore created 24 versions of himself. Yes, 24 separate clones, or slices. Each one represents a different facet of his mind or timeline, and the idea is that he could explore all possible versions of himself without being confined to just one path. But here's where things get really interesting. In this discarded storyline, the original Dottore, also known as Omega, creates one last clone, a completely blank version, a clean slate. This new Dottore, left behind in Snezhnaya, has no memories and no identity. He's literally a tabula rasa. Omega made him as a way to let go of his obsession, his madness, and all the destructive impulses that define him. In a way, it's like Omega wanted to die, or at least be reborn. And this brings us to something I personally find fascinating. If HoYoverse ever wants to make Dottore playable, and let's be honest, they probably do given his popularity, this new clone feels like the obvious way to do it. Think about it. Omega Dottore has done way too much horrible stuff to be easily redeemable. He's been tied to human experiments, the fall of Sumeru, academia, and some truly awful things. Manga. But this new version, he has no memories, no sins, no past. He's a perfect candidate for a redemption arc, or even just a clean introduction into the Traveler's world. It actually follows a pattern we've seen before. Remember Wanderer? Originally Scaramouche. He got a full identity reboot and a new path, one that allowed players to connect with him from a fresh perspective. Same with Raiden Shogun, where the playable version isn't the Raiden herself meditating in euthymia, but the puppet made by her. Dottore's blank clone could do the same thing, and just like with Wanderer, it opens the door to future storylines like, what happens if he remembers who he was? Does he fall into the same madness, or does he fight it? Now let's take a moment to connect this to something we've seen recently. The teaser, where Columbina appears in Nod Cry. That trailer left a lot of people scratching their heads, especially when the Tsaritsa said she wanted her back. At first glance, it sounds like Columbina just went on a solo mission, and the Tsaritsa is worried. But knowing this new info about Dottore possibly using Columbina's powers to fuel his plan, it suddenly makes way more sense. What if Columbina was either taken or manipulated into going there by Dottore? What if this is the early stage of him going rogue, stealing power and making moves to reshape the world on his terms? It would explain why Kolumbina is so far away from Snezhnaya, why the Tsaritsa is concerned, and maybe even why Dottore left his final clone behind. It's like he's splitting from the Fatui, shedding his past and putting a backup version of himself in place. One that could one day side with the Traveler instead of the Harbingers. So yeah, while none of this is confirmed, it really does line up with HoYoverse's patterns. They love giving us powerful former antagonists with emotional complexity, and Dottore's story, especially this clone angle, would be a perfect fit. Personally, I'd love to see that kind of layered character make it into the game, and who knows, maybe that final slice of Dottore, the one without memories, is already watching us from Snezhnaya, just waiting for his time to enter the stage. If you think this version of Dottore would make a good, playable character, or if you'd rather see the Omega version in action, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious what people think about this dual identity idea. And of course, if you want more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe.